The Bell P-39 Airacobra stands as a testament to a period when the pace of aviation development was extraordinarily rapid. Conceived as a pursuit aircraft, the P-39's design was revolutionary with its tricycle undercarriage and the placement of the engine behind the pilot, features that made it a distinctive figure among its contemporaries. The aircraft's introduction into service was met with high expectations. General Henry H. Arnold, Chief of the Air Corps, noted its potential, stating, "It may be said that the P-39 is the most important development in pursuit planes since the World War." However, the British Royal Air Force strongly disagreed, completely rejecting the P-39, cancelling its existing orders, and sending the bulk of its delivered aircraft to the Soviet Air Force. So what about the P-39 was so bad in the RAF's eyes? Let's take a look. The Airacobra's design was a bold step by the Bell Aircraft Corporation, aiming for a balance between speed, maneuverability and firepower. With its engine centered in the aircraft behind the pilot, it had a groundbreaking centralized balance, allowing it to be very maneuverable in combat. The British version, the P-400, with a 20mm Hispano-Suiza HS-404 cannon and 6 .303 caliber machine guns, was a formidable weapon configuration. But the decision to remove the supercharger for production models significantly hampered the aircraft's high-altitude capabilities. The P-39's chief designer, Robert J. Woods, defended the concept, emphasizing the advantages of the central cannon and the engine placement in terms of balance and aerodynamics. Despite Woods's defense, pilots often reported that the aircraft was underpowered for high-altitude engagements. The P-39's design, while innovative, was a compromise that reflected the tension between theoretical engineering and practical application in combat conditions. In the European theatre, the P-39 could not compete with high-altitude German fighters, leading to a re-evaluation of its role. Unfortunately for Bell, British expectations for the P-39 Airacobra were initially based on the impressive performance of the unarmored, turbo-supercharged XP-39 prototype. The contractual requirement for British production models stipulated a maximum speed of 394 miles per hour, with a permissible variation of 4% at the aircraft's optimal altitude. However, when put to the test, production models only achieved 371 miles per hour at an altitude of 14,090 feet, prompting Bell to undertake a series of aerodynamic enhancements to become compliant. Efforts to reduce drag included trimming the surface area of the elevators and rudder by 14.2% and 25.2%, respectively. Refined tail fillets were introduced, and the canopy was streamlined with putty for a smoother profile. To address in-flight deformations, gun access doors on the wing were reinforced with thicker aluminium, and a stronger linkage was installed to secure the landing gear doors. The exit area for cooling air from the radiators was optimized, and new engine exhaust stacks designed for thrust augmentation were added. The antenna mast was removed, a sleek engine cowling was fitted, and all gun ports were smoothed over. The airframe of the 601 Squadron Airacobra 1 was meticulously prepared, receiving 20 layers of primer, each finely sanded down, followed by a standard camouflage paint job, which was then sanded to soften the transitions between colors. Weight reduction measures were also implemented, shedding around 200 pounds to achieve a lighter than standard gross weight of 7,466 pounds. These exhaustive modifications bore fruit when the second production aircraft, serial AH-571, clocked 391 mph at 14,400 feet, narrowly meeting the contract specifications. Despite this feat, such modifications were not replicated across other P-39 productions. Subsequent evaluations by the British Aeroplane and Armament experimental establishment of a standard P-400 resulted in a top speed of merely 359 miles per hour. The P-39's fate was sealed in the eyes of the RAF. The Royal Air Force cancelled its existing orders and Airacobras already in the UK, along with the remainder of the first batch being built in the US, were sent to the Soviet Air Force. In direct contrast, the Soviet Air Force found the P-39 to be highly effective in their tactical environment, where combat often occurred at lower altitudes. Alexander Pokrishkin, a highly decorated Soviet ace, praised the P-39, stating it was the best fighter for a frontal attack. Over 4,900 air victories by Soviet pilots were attributed to the Airacobra. The aircraft's operational history is a narrative of context. In the right circumstances, the P-39 was a formidable adversary, but when forced to fight outside its optimized envelope, it struggled to meet pilot expectations. Despite the mixed reviews, the P-39's impact on aviation cannot be understated. It challenged conventional design norms and brought to the forefront the importance of matching an aircraft's characteristics with its intended combat role. The lessons learned from the P-39 would influence future aircraft designs. Aviation historian J. Spencer reflects on the Airacobra's legacy. The P-39 made an important, though unorthodox, contribution to the Allied war effort. It underscored the evolution of tactical air combat and the necessity for continuous adaptation in technology and tactics. The P-39 Airacobra's history is a blend of ingenuity and compromise, a subject of varied assessments based on the theatre of operation and the changing nature of aerial warfare. Its legacy, while marred by some operational deficiencies, remains a significant chapter in the history of fighter development during World War II. All this, of course, was academic for the RAF. They had ordered a high-altitude fighter, and Bell, despite first meeting the specification in its prototype, had failed to deliver. The Bell P-39 Airacobra failed to meet their specifications and was rejected.